So we're very happy today to have a talk from Cllr Peter Greenhalgh, and I'll get this wrong. He's the lead member for Highways, Transport and Strategic Planning for Swindon Borough Council. So, well, I'll let Peter talk about the vision as much as he wants to, but he really, I think, was behind the vision, the long-term vision for transport for Swindon, which was very broad and it pretty much addressed everything about transport for Swindon from now until 2030 at a very high level. And so I think Peter's going to talk to us perhaps a little bit about that today, but also about a kind of visit to the Netherlands and some best practice from there. So I'll leave the rest to Peter. Thanks very much. And do you have... It's going to be a fairly brief talk, isn't it? And then...
Well, it can be as long as you want. I mean, when you've had enough, I think the blues and the cushions being thrown will indicate.
Rod under control, Peter.
I didn't want to do a PowerPoint because, I mean, I know many people, I get fed up with death by PowerPoint. So what I'm just showing here is just a random selection of photographs that were taken from various parts around Holland. Just to give people who haven't been there a flavour of actually what some of the architecture is like, but also a flavour of how the towns look, how unbelievably flat and in some places very wet it is. But it's a fascinating country, and I mean it's an odd place because it's in one way extremely liberal, and then it has this really strange sort of right-wing theme running through in a political sense, and it's both lovely and slightly disturbing at the same time. But they have possibly the best vision for transport that I've come across anywhere in the world, possibly apart from Singapore, because they deliver. Now, I mean, I don't know what you know about Holland, but up until the 70s, their cycling rate was actually less than what we have at the moment, certainly less than what we have in Swindon. And in the 70s, they decided, quite radically, that it's a flat country, it's great to have people cycling around. So they thought, well, how do we enable this? And instead of pontificating, instead of saying, oh, we can't do this, they actually just set out to make it a cycle-friendly country. And it's helped by the fact that it is flat. So for people like myself, you don't have hills to worry about getting to work, you don't need to worry about getting showers and all this sort of stuff. But it's just a great place to go around. And when I was there, obviously I'm passionate about transport, but I became actually more passionate about what are we doing in this country and why are we doing it, and what could we do differently. Now we have the transport plans and the visions for Swindon, but in some ways they don't actually go far enough because we are regrettably restricted by money, and money is always the big thing. And I know the council is always bang on about we never get enough money, but in Swindon's case it pretty is true. And anyone who wants to see the figures can quite happily supply them. So what I've been trying to do is work out how can we deliver change in Swindon that we can afford, but actually that facilitates people to move around the town in the best possible way. What we have to the east of Swindon, as you know, the government is insisting that Swindon takes a massive share of house building. We're looking at about 38,000 houses over the next 25 years. And to the east of Swindon, there's what we call the Eastern Development Area. There are going to be about 12,500 houses. And we didn't want that just to be another modern housing estate. We wanted it to, or we want it to be sustainable. And I'm not just picking on buzzwords. We actually genuinely want this to be a sustainable community. And transport is one of the key drivers for that. But also, there's no point building 12,000 houses to one side of Swindon without working out how you can actually link it with the rest of the town, because otherwise it's just going to be an aside. By the way, if anyone sees anything on the slide that they think, oh, that's great, by all means, just shout out, and either myself or Rod Blue will try and do this. But also, if you've got any questions about what I'm saying while I'm saying it, just jump in. I don't want to just stand here and lecture you and nodding and falling asleep. Please, by all means, challenge me. So anyway, we've got this big development happening to the east of Swindon. How do we link it into the town centre? And how do we make it work where I don't think that most traditional housing estates in this country do? It's just a massive, we call them sort of Lego land houses. So to draw inspiration, we're working with a company called LDA Design. They're a European-based company. They do a lot of work all over Europe. And they pointed out that there are some similarities between what we're trying to achieve in terms of growth here in Swindon with what is happening with growth in certain parts of Holland. So we went out there to see how things are done. And the one thing that really strikes you about how different it is just how bold they are. You know, we worry about these small planning applications, dealing with multiple house builders, all this sort of stuff, trying to assemble a development. In Holland, the government buys the land. They effectively CPO the land that these estates are going to be built on, and then they give it to the council, or the local authority. And they say, right, here you are, there's the land, you deliver now. And when you sell those plots of land off to builders, pay us back the money. So this enables the local authorities to really get a grip on how how these developments are shaped and how they work in terms of transport and sustainability. And it's just fantastic, the scale of the work they're doing. And I think that the one estate we went to look at in Utrecht was, I think it was 30,000 houses. And that's just one, like one big Barrett housing estate. But actually, every 200 houses was designed by a different architect. And you'll see some of these pictures popping up, some of the blue houses and green houses, and latex clad and leather clad and aluminium clad and all this sort of stuff. And you think it might be sort of quite perverse having this wide range, but it actually works. It's in context. It delivers. And what you notice is that when they're delivering transport solutions, they look at, well, how can we make this sustainable? How can we make, for example, the tram line sustainable? So they build up the density around the tram stations or the tram stops. So when people or if people want to use trams, they don't have to walk far because actually their whole estate or development is built around this terminus or tram stop. So, the most that people have to walk is about 600 yards to get on the tram. And it's great because the trams are, I'd like to say that they just plonk them down. I mean, obviously it's slightly more complex than that. But they just, the tracks are open and they can have grass running between them and they actually fit into the landscape. And we're restricted in this country because trams are covered under railway legislation. So there are all sorts of health and safety issues over why we can't do stuff like this, and we have to have.
The grass incidentally helps keep them quiet.
It does that as well, yeah, the acoustic dampening. There you are, one of the green plastic-clad houses. But it's great the way that these tram lines just fit in, and they feel right because they're part of the landscape, and people use trams. These bikes as well. Oddly, they ride to the station and get on the train. They don't take the bike with them. In this country, I always hear about people wanting to get their bikes on the train. Over there, you see, 10,000 bicycles chained up outside the station. It truly is an incredible sight.
But you can take your bike on the Dutch train.
Yeah, you can.
And there's no question about it. And they're healthy.
Well, I mean,